Hello, hello. Okay. Hello, everybody. I'm finally live. Sorry about the delay. I seem to be starting a little late. I'm having some issues with Stream. I should be happy it's sooner than last week. So I'm Sudha Jamte, and this is Sudha Live. Thank you for joining me on a Friday evening for those of you who are here on my time zone. And those of you who are waking up on a Saturday morning from Asia, Singapore, Vietnam, Thailand, all other places out there. I really appreciate the time you're spending with me. So this is Sudha Live. I'm Sudha Jamte. I'm a technology futurist from Silicon Valley. And this is our half hour where I will be talking to you about AI opportunities. I will share events, jobs, research, fellowship, and usually I pick a topic that I've been pondering through the week that is the latest in this space. As a technology futurist, I have something that I'm working on for research, something I'm teaching in my classes, and based on what's happening in the world around that, or my focus on what I'm looking at, that's what I will bring to you. So we'll see. Let me tell you what I'm looking at. So Coded Bias is this amazing documentary on Netflix. So you should watch it if you've not. And there was a launch party, not a launch party, it was an anniversary. So it was an anniversary viewing that happened on the 21st of May, which is last week. And I was teaching this new course called Human Artificial Intelligence at Barcelona Technology School on Thursday. So I started with the Coded Bias trailer, and I love to show it. I never get tired of showing it. So I'm going to start today's session with Coded Bias. And you'll see why I'm so excited about it as soon as you see what I'm going to show you. So let's get the full screen. And here we go.
During my first semester at MIT, I got computer vision software that was supposed to track my face. It didn't work until I put on this white mask. I'm thinking, all right, what's going on here? Is it the lighting conditions? Is it the angle at which I'm looking at the camera, or is there something more? That's when I started looking into issues of bias that can creep into technology.
Our ideas about technology that we think are normal are actually ideas that come from a very small and homogeneous group of people.
Vast amounts of data at incredible speeds.
Everybody has unconscious biases, and people embed their own biases into technology.
This kid got stopped as a result of facial recognition misidentification, and then used that as justification to search you. This is an innocent child.
Racism is becoming mechanized.
Systemic issues only going to be hardwired into new technologies.
It's not just face classification, it's any data-centric technology.
Every day, we are all being scored.
Who gets hired? Who gets housing?
I am making predictions for your life right now.
The people who own the code deploy it on other people, and there is no accountability.
Management analytic towers wanted to install the facial recognition software. Pretty much turn this place into Fort Knox.
The technology is being rapidly adopted, and there are no safeguards.
We are socially controlled in a way that we don't see.
Technology that analyzes faces could be biased, but the company is pushing it anyway.
What demographic is it most effective on?
White men.
Show me that it's going to be fair, that it's legal before you put it out. That's what we don't have yet.
It's going to take people coming together, striving for justice in this age of automation.
Okay. So I hope you'll go see it because I feel tempted to go back and see it. And each time, so I teach AI, artificial intelligence bootcamp at Stanford Continuing Studies. And I teach AI ethics, various aspects of it. for 4 different master's program at Barcelona Technology School. And they teach digital transformation for people who want to be digital transformation leaders out in industry. So there's several different masters. And this week, I taught the masters in UX design class. And this was our second session. I usually teach AIX design, which is designing with artificial intelligence. And this week, 4-hour session was about human artificial intelligence. So that's kind of top of my mind. So I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about it. And the reason it's top of my mind is because I do research in that area. And so I'm going to be telling you a little bit about 2 other projects that's in my pipeline related to that I hope will be interesting for you. I don't know, I always say this, whether it is my social media feeds that brings the stuff that I'm thinking about, but I also have a couple events that came on my radar related to this topic. Finally, it all comes back to bringing a diverse set of people into the AI spectrum to go build AI in a very inclusive way. But what does that look? What does that AI ethics or AI inclusiveness looks, or what it means, again, is based on our bias. I know there are rooms out there where people are challenging others who talk about AI ethics and say, we don't need it, we are actually doing this right, and we don't have bias. So there's many different ways of building AI without bias in an inclusive way, why it matters. So, we'll be talking a little bit about that, but both based on my projects or based on my lessons or something that I'm working on in a tangible way, because this particular live stream, I bring more practical things for you so that you can take it home, do something with it. Either you are innovating in tech, or you're eager to get into this new field of AI, or you're already here and you want to go do some more interesting things, impactful things, and you're trying to, expand your knowledge around that. And then one thing I would say is, coming from technology industry, having worked in technology industry for a couple of decades, I'm very excited about technology. I'm an optimist about the power of technology, but every single time, every wave of technology has been able to scale only when it solved a fundamental problem for somebody. Not because it got a lot of money. It got a lot of money because it had the promise to challenge the world or do something useful for not a narrow population, but for a wider population. So when we think about it that way, the narrow population is the set of people we are going to leave behind with AI. And then AI is not going to scale because it's going to need to solve a bigger problem for humanity. Otherwise, it will look exciting. There will be companies with valuation, but it will not really scale. So I don't want to get into a philosophical realm on it, but I will show you some stuff here. At least the opportunities that's presenting itself in that space is what I'm going to go for today. So I was telling you about my Stanford class, and usually just before getting ready to go live, I would, start my thinking on, okay, what do I want to cover today? I would line up the various links on my LinkedIn or Twitter or wherever I have them written down, maybe in a Google Doc and stuff like that. And I went to LinkedIn and I was pleasantly surprised. Let me share that directly instead of just talking to you. So I wrapped up my class on Artificial Intelligence Bootcamp for product and business managers at Stanford University. And here is my student, Paula. And she says, I'm finishing my Stanford University course on artificial intelligence for product and business managers. Paula, it was amazing having you in class. And she's saying she learned a lot and enjoyed every class. And she stayed up very, very late. I know that because the class was at 4 o'clock our time, and we had students from various time zones who either stayed up through the night and attended the class or who joined in very early morning. So I appreciate it. It was, thank you so much. She says my class was dynamic and interesting. This makes my day. And each time I get a new batch of students, it's very sad for me to wrap up the last class and say goodbye. I host this weekly Wednesday for the past 5 years, I want to say. Every week on Wednesdays, where we bring speakers on continuing the conversation. So everything my students ask in a class, I say, I did not cover more AI on healthcare. Let me bring Swati Young to talk to the class about it. or the students go do amazing things and they come back, and I call them back, and then they come in and show their work. So it's weekly Ved is now hosted by my student alum Yashashwini. Yash, she goes by Yash, and you can join that if you like. So thank you, Paula. I wish you well, and I'm here to cheer for you to see what you do with this. And she's also the CEO of Linked AI. So I would recommend following Paula and look at her work. And Paula is calling out the speakers I have. Usually I have guest speakers in the class, and I had David Kerrigan, who came and spoke about AI business. I had Aishatu Kodabe, who was my past student, who's a peace technologist, who came and talked about her work. Aishatu has inspired me to think about natural language processing. In fact, Aishatu took the same class 2 years back when I taught it in Stanford the very first time. Previously, I used to teach business of autonomous vehicles at Stanford. And Aishatu came back and she was telling us what she's done. 2 years back, she seeded this question about Hausa language, which is the 7th most spoken language in the world, from Nigeria and a couple nearby countries. And she said, Google Translate doesn't have it, and how do I make it happen? And she got on a journey. She does a lot more with visual art and stuff. I'm going to show you one amazing thing that Aishatu is doing, which also I just found recently. So she spoke to class, but the seed that she left me behind about NLP has taken fruit. And so one of my projects that I'm working on recently, and you must have heard me talk about this a couple times, is I'm trying to bring, it's been a couple-year journey, but I'm trying to get to a place where we can bring people from various different worlds to collaborate together. So I'm going to talk to you about that in a minute. And then Suja Visvesan joined us, and she is the head of data. It's a very unique person. She's worked at IBM. She has worked at LinkedIn. And then now she is at Warner Discovery. That's a new name after their Warner Media and Discovery went through their merger. And she's the head of data. So I could not have done justice to this topic of data, of 4 V's of data, and how do you create a data-driven culture, and the reality of getting data ready for artificial intelligence and all that stuff with petabytes of data in a company, and then comparing between a technology company like LinkedIn and a business company or a media company like Warner Discovery. So Suja Visvesan was one of our guest speakers, and thank you, Suja, for that. And then Patrick Lynn spoke to us about, he's the author of Machine See, Machine Do. I'm a big fan of Patrick's work, and he spoke to us about AI ethics. And so the reality of how, and Patrick brings a very different perspective of AI ethics. He loves history and how history has led us to where we are. So even he's talking about, I think he started with forensics and how they use AI and technology to make decisions. So he brings how AI is used in the courtroom in US, and his work, I believe, is US centered. And he gives examples of the reality of how AI ethics needs to be in work. So here is Paula. Congratulations, Paula. I hope more people will follow you, and I'm definitely going to follow your work. So thank you, everybody. And I saw somebody commented here and said she wanted to take this class. It was fully, we have this called live online. So it's 5 days a week, and it is on Zoom, and it's a live, but it gets recorded. So if somebody misses a class or wants to come back and watch, I'll be available. And I do office hours in a couple different time zones following the class, so that I can engage the students one-on-one based on what their goals are or what they want to do with the class during the session. And I can't tell you whether the fall class, so I won't be teaching this class back in summer. I usually take a break from teaching in summer. I get into a research mode, and I obviously try to chill a little bit. But other than that, I also will be teaching this in fall, but I don't know. I can't tell you whether it is live or not, because online, my gut is it's going to be online still, but Stanford will decide, what's right for us, because we want people to go back to work. And I teach adult learners who already are at work and then coming back and then taking extra courses. And I love the diversity of students I get from teaching an online class, because I had somebody from China, I had people from Brazil, I had somebody from India, I had people from different parts of US, and it's quite a diverse class. I am not sure I had anybody from Africa this time. I've had people from Africa in the past. So that's it about this class. But thank you to Paula, good luck, and to all my students who are not yet sharing like this, but I appreciate your contribution and keeping me smart. I appreciate that. And you can see the LIL instructor group that I'm part of. I'm going to tell you about that. So I'm working on a course for LinkedIn Learning. It's an on-demand class, which means we record the whole class and then it will go live on LinkedIn Learning. And the class is about Nokoday AI. And it was such a different experience from my live classes that I do on Business School of AI or Barcelona Tech, or there are full live recording classes I've done in the past for Stanford also. Usually my Stanford classes are live in-person classes, but it's live online just now. But it's very different from that. It's done like a whole movie recording. So I had a director who came in and guided us on, on different sections of content, and had a producer, amazing director. I'm so thankful for them. So I'm going to tag them here, but I can tell you when the course is going live, and I will surely share that here once I'm allowed to. I believe it's in pre-production, it finished up, then we did the production, and then the next phase is post-production, and they do such an amazing job. I think they got, I've taught Nokoday many times, but they got more out of me this time than I knew I had it in me from my various sessions with them. So it's unbelievable. So thank you. So that is that's all I can tell you about the course right now. So thank you, guys. So one of the things I started out early in the year was a newsletter called Limitless. I think I did this in March. And those of you who know me, I'm always like, when I say Nokoday AI, I don't want you to feel limited that you don't know coding, that you cannot get into AI. I've had this, this concept of limitlessness drive me in all my activities. And so my newsletter on LinkedIn is called Limitless. And I wrote the first post. I want to make sure that I get a few more people signed up before I get started on a weekly basis, because once I commit, it's a cadence. I already have my Jamte newsletter that I publish on Sundays, which has all the links and content that I'm sharing here. It embeds this video and the like. But I wanted to take a moment and talk about this limitless concept of limitless world. So when we talk about how AI is built by you and me and everybody else in a diverse group, we talk about AI ethics, and we want it to be reflective of our lived truths and representative of everybody. So when we say bias in AI, it leaves somebody behind. So I'm challenging the concept that you can actually bring enough data that has multiple races, multiple genders, and multiple age range. And that's it. That you're done on making sure that your data, and then when you label and collect data, we tend to think about it in different lights and different angles. So they'll take a face and flip it upside down or 45 degrees this way or that way, have different light angles. And so you create more synthetic data out of existing data sets. And that's how AI is trained. But I want to challenge that concept. That's not enough. And one thing I would say is there's different school of thoughts about how the AI is actually bringing in data from the world, and the data is not perfect because it carries the prejudices of our world. And the other thing is that there are gaps in data and we need to fill that in. And the other thinking is, don't worry about the data. think about what business problem you're solving or social problem you're solving, and build AI for it, and figure out what data you need for it, and go get it and collect and create more open data sets. So in my recent research, I've been doing a combination of it, and I come from product management and data analytics from a very data centric background. So I tend to gravitate towards focusing on the data more to make the algorithm more inclusive. So if you look at my Google Scholar, you can see that my past research has been on inclusive AI in autonomous vehicles, two variations of those papers. One is based on driver alertness system, looking at images, and another is a driver alertness system, but now looking at moving objects or movements inside the car. And I have a few other research on the human-centered design, but that's a different way of calling designers to build inclusive AI. But I want to go back to this thinking of limitlessness. So for those of you who are watching this live, and those of you who come back, anybody who's coming back and watching this because it showed up in your feed, I want you to pause for a moment. And when you see the word limitlessness, and I say, hey, here's the beginning of a limitless world. Yes, I'm going to give you interesting content. So, I would obviously urge you to, sign up and follow the newsletter. But one thing I would say is I want you to pause and think, do you feel limitless? Just pause and think about it. Do you feel limitless when you go into work, whatever you do? If you're coming and signing up and attending any of my classes or lectures, or here you're on Sudha Live, maybe you have an aspiration to build AI innovation in your companies. Maybe you want to do a startup. Maybe you want to career pivot. Maybe you took a break and you want to come back into work, and AI looks like a cool, hot area. Look at the combination of words that you want to, get involved in. Whatever your aspirations, why you're here, do you personally feel limitless? Because if you're going to be part of that team who is going to come in and build AI, you're going to bring your thinking, your prejudices, your biases, and you're going to bring your experiences. So to say that you're limitless, yes, and you can go build anything is not real. And to say that we've added a bunch of the other people who were missed out into the data, now the data is clean, is not going to build the AI that is real. And so I would urge you to think of this, that do you feel empowered enough when you're sitting in a room and they're building an AI, and it is a delivery bot, it is going to drive around everywhere. It is going to it's going to pick up tea or boba or some food for students who are staying up at night, and is driving around campus. I remember doing this exercise with my students with Kiwibot. We do this live lab classes on Business School of AI. I don't have them going on now. We'll have them back for fall semester. We take a real business case with real business data, partner with a company, and then I teach data science in some aspect of data science, or teach them how to build Nokoday AI. Or I have a team of people who are experts on machine learning or deep learning. Julian Carbonell has come and taught machine learning. Sam Wigglesworth has come and taught NLP. We've had AI ethicists like Dia Win from Amazon, Renee Cummings come in and talk about this. Susanna Raj does not let us go and sleep peacefully if we don't think of AI in a very inclusive way that covers the whole world in every possible dimension. And all those classes we do. And I remember we had this discussion about the students in getting a delivery bot. So if you are looking at this, if you are a student, that's your lived truth. And I want to challenge this concept of getting to a world that is limitless, because if you feel as a student, you're running around and you're frustrated that you did not have time for lunch, then you're going to think about this Kiwibot very differently and say, I want it to deliver food right when there's a gap between my classes. And it was shocking for us to know that when Kiwibot was, doing pilots out in University of Berkeley, there were female students who said, hey, we would like to walk along with Kiwibot at night because this is an autonomous vehicle or robot. It's like a tiny box this big, and it's driven autonomously. It's level 3 of autonomy. That means there is somebody watching the delivery bot remotely from a different location. I believe it's a Colombia-based company, which has expanded into Silicon Valley, in LA, and has customers in Dubai and everywhere. It's global. But they have people who are watching it, right, to see whether the autonomy fails or do they need to take control, what happens in any situation. So there were these women who felt it safe to walk along Kiwi at night in the campus. So if you are one such person and you're thinking about autonomous delivery bot, how cool technology it is, and you're thinking about the AI and computer vision and perception and the business model of what applications you can build, your head is in a very different place. It is not just about getting that boba delivered to you. And so when I'm calling you to join me to say beginnings of a limitless world, I'm not here to tell you that rara, everything is limitless, believe me. And it's my point of view. And someday I would feel that. Some days on some situations, I might not feel that. But I want you to come with your authenticity on your lived experiences and bring that to your world, to wherever you are, where you're going to contribute to AI, because AI is pervasive. It's in our body, it's in our houses, it's in shared spaces, it's in private spaces. And AI is watching our faces and making judgments and making guesses and predictions about our emotions, which is today, based on very wrong science. I reminded my class, and I will remind that to you again, just don't get excited about technology just because it is presented like something is possible. But come join me. First, obviously, you can join my newsletter, but I want to join me in a larger sense to contribute with your lived truth in research, in building pilots, in coming up with ideas, in challenging concepts, challenging these open data sets that are not open according to your experience where you felt limited. I want you to think about it. And when I say we will make a limitless world or build a limitless world, I'm talking about how we can collaborate, how we can break the limits that has been there so that we can make the data set truly inclusive, according to my definition, according to your definition, according to somebody else's definition. So we can go towards that. We can build systems that's inclusive of everybody. And last week, I showed a video of a person called Vatsala, who is legally blind, and she's a customer support person at Jumbotron, which is a startup, which is a delivery startup, not autonomous vehicle delivery. It's like DoorDash, it's people delivery. And she does customer support, and she knows 5 languages. And she was the first woman in her family to go and work. So there was a lot more to her identity than just being visually impaired. But her story was presented from how she's visually impaired and how she kind of got over that. And she's such a joy to see how she loves her work and she's passionate about it. And I want to bring experiences of people like that. I want people like that to inspire us to build for them. I want us to bring such people into the fold to build that limitless world. So join me, go tell people, and maybe, we can collaborate on things together. So coming back, when I say collaborate on projects, what am I talking about? So I told you about coded bias. This week at Weekly Wednesday, I had actually spoken about, I'd actually shared this Vatsala story. And let me see. I want to share my screen. I don't like YouTube showing random recommendations. That's not relevant to me. But so in the beginning, so this is Weekly Wednesday, Weekly Wed. So you can sign up to attend Weekly Wed. And let me get out of that for a minute to show you where. So the easiest place for you to join me and come join Yash and my student alums, especially if you are new to this whole thing of my world of my student alums, is you can go to bit.ly Jamte newsletter. Do you see this URL? bit.ly/Jamte newsletter. And if you don't want to sign up, bookmark it, come back, watch the, read it each week. And this is where it is. This is last week's, past issues, or, so we do that every week, and you'll see all the links, and you'll see the weekly Wednesday embed, and you'll find that. The other option is you can just go to weekly Wednesday by going to bit.ly/weeklywed event. So I'm going to share that URL here. So it's bit.ly/weeklywed event, and you can sign up and you'll get the Zoom link and join us. And it's a global speaker series with my student alums, and the amazing Yash from Bangalore, our AI researcher, would be hosting the speakers. So you can, and then the reason you're signing up is not just to get the Zoom link, but you'll get access to the recordings of all our past sessions. And I've been doing this for almost 5 years. And I want to say it was called by the name Weekly Wed for 3 years out of that. And so you can get access to a lot of content if you're new to this whole learning journey. So coming back, I'm going back to the Weekly Wed recording that I promised. So the reason I wanted to show that is I had, I have 2 projects that I'm working on. And one of them is about VoiceAI, and one of them is about language models. So the VoiceAI, let me show that first before I go to the, let me see. So the VoiceAI is this conference in Vienna that's coming up. And I am going to be, I've been accepted to present one of the workshops on VoiceAI, how to bring build VoiceAI. This is in it was in Montreal last year, and it was in Yokohama before that. It's a truly global conference, and in here they actually have their papers of what all papers were accepted, and the details of this. If you go into this year's conference, you can actually see the accepted papers and topics. And they have a call for volunteers for students. You get to attend, and of course you can volunteer. And that is, I believe, till the 30th of May. So I would recommend this for you to, go attend that if you can. And my role here is I'm hosting a VoiceAI workshop to build VoiceAI inclusively. When I say inclusively, voice from all of us are different. It has, of course, that's the technical part of it is, hey, how do you understand various accents and nuances? But there is a lot more. How is regulation done for voice? How do you design voice for shared spaces? Again, as I said, when you're thinking about limitlessness, think about your perspective, your experience. The beauty with AI is each of our experience with AI is uniquely different. When I talk to Alexa and you talk to Alexa, each time it hears the voice, it is actually going to run, like take the voice, convert that to text, and then run a text to speech, or in this case speech to text, and then go search on the web and come back, and then it's going to give an answer. It's different on how it takes the voice and translates into text in its algorithm brain. How it is running for you is going to be different for me. If I say it, the way it is going to interpret the next time is another run. It is not going to follow the same path in its brain. So it's going to be different. So this conference in Vienna is a bigger AI conference. So I would recommend you check it out, IJCAI. But the voice workshop that I'm talking about is to bring experts who are in this field, working on various aspects of it, to drive a conversation and to get to an action plan so that we can go build VoiceAI together. And it's a hybrid conference. So if you're already at IJCAI, or you're part of another organization who's hosting a workshop, I want to collaborate with you, because the organizers want it to be a hybrid event. And I have people who are going to be coming from different parts of the world. All my activities are always very global. So I would like to collaborate with somebody who's already there in person, so that who's already signed up to attend the conference will even be better. So I'm not bringing new people totally to fly there if they don't want to. So if you're already there, if you're already signed up for the conference, if you're running another workshop, if you work in VoiceAI in any capacity, even if you don't work in VoiceAI, talk to me. I want to figure out how to collaborate and do this, right? This is, I believe, from July 23 to 25, the workshop. My workshop is 3 hours, half-day workshop on VoiceAI. Okay. So that is one that I believe I needed to share with you immediately before I show you the video of Weekly Wednesday that I started out on. The other thing that I'm working on is language models. And language models is, how do you build language, teach AI to understand language. Language translation is the easiest you can understand. But even when I said I talk to Alexa and it takes my voice and converts to text and then goes and searches answers for that question I'm asking, it is doing NLP. So that world has taken off in a big way. I spoke about this in my Stanford class. It's called Foundational Models, which is taking us to the next advanced level of AI algorithms. And there are pockets of people who are building language models around the world for various languages. The more I've been, as I mentioned, Aisha Tugodape got me thinking about Hausa language and what does it take. And I started digging further from there. India is known to have 22 official languages, and there are many more languages in India. And there are groups working on that. I know there is a group in Africa, at least called Marcana. I believe that's how it's pronounced, NLP, and they are working on various languages from Africa. I spoke to somebody from Brazil who was telling me about how Brazilian Portuguese is different from the Portuguese from Portugal. And there is an attempt to remove words that came from the colonization that impacts the culture of Brazil. And so that's like a progressive movement that is impacting the language, that will feed into the training data that will build the language models for Brazilian Portuguese. And the same for Spanish models. I don't have anybody who's working on Spanish models with me currently, but if you are working on Spanish models, I would like to collaborate with you. And I'm planning a workshop which will bring people together from 5 different groups working on different language models. And timing of this is end of the year, but I want to see whether you can join me in the collaboration that I'm already planning. So and I'm learning Spanish language, so I know there are nuances to it from the different cultures of where it is, whether it is Mexican or Argentina or somewhere else, right? Or Spain or somewhere else. So talk to me. And even if there's another language that is not in my radar, I'm interested in just understanding what is the commonality so that we can accelerate this. So with that context, I want to share this screen on, let me go back to what I was going to share with you. I believe some of my video was running. Oh, that is my recording. Okay, so let me go back to the screen. So this is something I spoke about in Weekly Wednesday. So I don't want to just go back and do the same slide, because I was saying that in my Bachelor of Technology class on human artificial intelligence. I was teaching the aspect of this at my Stanford class. And I did this at Weekly Wednesday to set the context of this, of where we are going with language models. Why does this matter? It is not just getting language and just, as data to feed the algorithm. So I want to give you a little context. Somebody to, give us access to an API. And if you're not a coder, I don't want you to feel like, I don't know how this thing is done. In marketing, we had a speaker talk about this clip. Okay, so I'm just going to go to foundational models.
Yeah, able to see the slides.
Thank you. Yeah, talking about foundational models. Stands for bidirectional encoder representations from transformers. Transformers is the bigger model shift that happened, and I'll tell you in a minute. So BERT essentially is doing language models, and it is predicting what's your next sentences. So now I want to stop the share. Where do you think you're seeing BERT or something like BERT, where the AI is doing the next best, predicting what is the next word that you are going to need?
Google search.
Google search is one. Thank you.
Okay, so I went on to Google search.
Today I will fly. Today I will do what others won't. And this I will fly, read alone is not allowed, is bad English, but it is I will cause problems on purpose. Oh, I like that. So instead of I will, if I say I could, it immediately says I couldn't come, and it starts I couldn't get any worse. It could be the last day. It's so sad. So it comes with, that's the idea. So it has a lot of language in its head, and it's coming with the next best word. And as Manan said, where are they using when you're typing on your phone? They can't wait for you to form your words and collect your thoughts and go right. They're just trying to guess the next word for you. Yep. Yash has her hand up. Yash.
Sudha, so we saw about DALL-E a few months back. So Google came up with Imagen few days back, where it takes text and it shows the visual. It is photorealistic. Can I just show it for a minute?
Yes, definitely. Yes. And I'm going
I just thought that everybody will like it here. It's called Imagen from Google Brain.
They just launched last week. Yeah.
They just released it 2 days back, and they're not giving the API. So they're just having a demo
Actually, this week. This happened on Wednesday.
This is created by AI foundation model. And so let me click on an oil painting of a Persian cat wearing a cowboy hat with a black leather jacket, skateboarding on top of a mountain. So here is the picture that it created. So it creates pictures. So it's called Imagen.
Yeah.
So this is the demo that they have. They are trying to. So DALL-E was a few months back, and Imagen came just a few days back. Yeah. They have the images that they have created here.
So the AI is essentially making an image from a text, right? You give a text and you did that fast, right? It's changing the image. So it is generating the image that didn't exist. It's not pulling an image from what it has been trained and knows. This is a new image that has never been created. It is creating its image.
Yes.
And Manan here had spoken to us about fake images and the whole world of synthetic data. So this is essentially creating data, synthetic data from something that didn't exist.
Okay, I want to
generate an image from text. So I'm sure image and numbers should be higher because they're saying it's more accurate, lifelike, right? So it takes a text prompt and it generates. So I used to say this. I really was saying I cannot stand to see the avocado armchair. This is there's so much. You say an armchair in the shape of an avocado, and then it generates AI generated these images. And there are all these text prompts, and this is from OpenAI. So, and it's DALL-E. So if you go look at that, you can play with it. I'm sure the image gen people also will be giving an API or some kind of access.
Okay, so you get an idea. So you can join Weekly Wednesday for a discussion, or you can watch Weekly Wednesday. You join the bit.ly Jamte newsletter, and you will get the link for all of that. But I have a quiz question for all of you. I asked at Weekly Wednesday. I know there's more people who join me here at Sudha Live because of the time zone difference. So I want to ask that question. And you have till next Wednesday when we do the Weekly Wednesday to get the answer back to me. So my question is, you saw that Imagen is doing that and DALL-E is doing that, where you feed a text and you get an image generated. That's what this AI is doing. All AI is being trained by some data. It takes some input and it produces an output. In this case, they have trained it such that it will take an input of a string of a word, a phrase, and it's going to generate an image. So my question to you, and I want you to answer this. You can come here on LinkedIn where you're watching, you're on Twitter, this is streaming, on YouTube, this is streaming, or you can find me on LinkedIn message, or you can find me on Business School of AI, or show up at Weekly Wed and talk to me there. Or if you're my student, you'll know how to find me otherwise too. So my question is, all these examples of, hey, it's photorealistic or it is not, I don't care at this point. I have to play with image and more. But the concept is the AI is going to take some string and produce an image. And the examples that are given are cats and elephants and, avocado chairs. I have not seen practical examples for it, but I have one practical application in my mind, and I want to see whether you have a practical application, similar or a different one. And I'll give you a clue of where I'm thinking about this. For all of you who have been following my work on autonomous vehicles, or who have taken my classes or listened to a talk, or just excited about autonomous vehicles, this is a call for you. Think about, for autonomous vehicles, we build perception of how the car sees the road, and we feed it with images, or it is fed by deep learning, by let the car drive in a pilot and watch the road from all the cameras. That's how it's trained. That's how the car sees the road. So that is the world I'm operating in. And I'm thinking there is an application there where you can feed this AI that will take text and will generate an image, can help improve safety of autonomous vehicles. So let me rephrase that. You can talk to it, or you can give a text, and it is going to spit out an image. That AI is somehow going to help improve safety for autonomous vehicles. What could one such application be? Can you imagine that? And I want you to give me an answer for that. And if you give me the right answer or a cool answer, even any application, you can use your own imagination or think about what I'm guessing. But if I find a viable one that is useful, I will take you to any of the autonomous vehicle companies that I know. So you can suggest that if you want to, if that is a path you want to go. Or if you're coming from a remote place where you cannot go and work with one of these companies, and your passion is really not autonomous vehicles or something, doesn't matter. I will give you any of my courses, any one course that you have not taken from me for free. That's the promise. Okay. So think about that. Okay. And then the final piece I have today, let me see. So I've been talking about my work with VoiceAI, ICKI conference. I've been talking about the language models, and I'm calling for Spanish speakers, Spanish language model developers to work with me. Now I'm going to switch to the final piece, because I've been going on for longer than I planned, is I want to share 2 events with you. And I forgot to share Aishatu's brilliant work that I promised that I'm going to show you for a second. So she works with AI and art, and she's done some work with Mozilla Foundation. And she just shared this beautiful thing. So she says, this is Aishatu Godabe. I would recommend you follow her. In a world increasingly globalized, we must protect, preserve, restore, and safeguard the cultural heritage we inherited from our ancestors. AI can serve as the architect of the future, safeguarding our unique cultural heritage for future generation. Aisha is the person who got me started on this whole language model collaboration work. So she has created this, which is her work based on, she's generated this using AI. So I just wanted to share that with you. Let me see if I open this in a new tab. I think she had like a 3D version of this also, like a meta version of this. So follow Aishatu. This is brilliant work, Aishatu. Thank you very much. Okay, so now I'm going to show you 2 events, and then I'm going to close out for the day. So one, I was telling you about how there is, that I was teaching about human artificial intelligence. So to that effect, I'm going to show you 2 events. One is called Hybrid Human Artificial Intelligence Conference. Let me go there. setting up just logging in. Here we go. This is called HHAI 2022, Hybrid Human Artificial Intelligence. And you can register. I believe there is, you can find the program. You can see the accepted papers. They had a call for it early on in the year for call for workshops, call for papers, all of that is here. These are all the different papers and abstracts and the short talks, invited speakers, and everything that they have listed. So take a look and see if that's interesting for you. And this conference basically runs as a workshop from 13th to 14th June. And it's in Amsterdam. And the main conference is from 14 to 17, and they have a hackathon from the 13th to 14th of June. So they're basically saying this is the first international conference focusing on the study of artificial intelligence systems that cooperate synergistically, proactively, and purposefully with humans. Let me repeat that. The first conference focusing on the study of AI systems that cooperate synergistically, proactively, and purposefully with humans, amplifying instead of replacing human intelligence. And then the reason that I'm sharing is, of course, that looks very intriguing to me. It's in Amsterdam. I love Amsterdam. It's a great place. But they also have a call for scholarship. If you're a PhD student doing any kind of research and you want a scholarship to attend this conference, they have that open currently. So I hope you will take a look at HHAI conference and go contribute. And so that is one. Again, I'll have this added on my newsletter. Okay. So the other thing is there is a group that is hosting. Let me see this. Let me share the screen again. So there is a Pride Summit from Lesbians Who Tech. Let me come back. So this is the Pride Summit. They host a huge tech conference once a year. And I believe the last time they did this, they had 40,000 attendees. And this is Pride Summit, June 6 to 10. And then they have listed partners and past speakers. I'm a big fan of Kara Swisher, and Stacey Abram was there. They had a bunch of political leaders who were there, musicians. They had such a wide range of people. Of course, they catered to 40,000 people. And so it's not a joke, that they had so, the organization, the power of this group and the learning that came out of it is just unbelievable. So what is happening is that is from June 6 to 10. But they're also hosting something fun, another event. Let me call it. So one of the things they're doing is they're doing an event on June 1st or 2nd. And that is not limited to San Francisco, where they'll host the conference. And so I thought that would be an interesting thing for you to go check it out if it is in your local area. I'm not sharing my screen. Let me share my screen. So I showed you Pride Summit, the main site, but they have, you can attend your cocktail, mocktails, or conversation event. They have it in Atlanta, Portland, San Francisco, where they have the big event, DC, Austin, Chicago, Boston, LA, New York, Seattle. Or you could be doing this virtual only, and they have a whole bunch. And so I would urge you to check them out because it's unbelievable, unbelievable brain power in one place. So Lesbians Who Tech is their site, and you can go check it out. And I will be adding this in the newsletter also. And so with that, we are getting ready to the end of our session. And I forgot one thing, explainable AI. So one of the topics that I have been talking about is AI ethics, and ethics is trust, fairness, and transparency. I have focused a lot on fairness. So in my work, I focus a lot on fairness, which is about reducing bias and adding more diversity in building AI, and trust in designing human artificial intelligence and AIX model that I teach. Those are the two pillars of AI ethics that I usually focus on. The third one is trust. The third one is transparency. So I focus on fairness and trust, and transparency is the final one, the last one that I'm listing here. For transparency, the tech behind this Explainable AI. And Yash, who hosts Weekly Wednesday, is an expert on the topic. She's an expert on responsible AI, which is fairness and Explainable AI. So she's been doing this 100 days of Explainable AI on LinkedIn. So if you follow her, she gives a little tidbit or some kind of learning resource on that. Been going on for a while. But she also has a digest that she's hosting for you to get like 7 days of this, her learning that she's ready to share. So I made a bit.ly for it if you want to go check it out. So it's called bit.ly/xai, which is Explainable AI from Yash. So it's all lowercase, bit.ly/xai from Yash. I hope the bit.ly works. This is where she's, you can sign up and she would tell you some new tidbit or teach you about Explainable AI. And she can go to great depths with, bringing Explainable AI. And there's also room to do a lot of research. She's very excited about research in that space. Maybe you would like to collaborate with her on that. But I urge you to just sign up and learn what is Explainable AI. See why it is important, how to bring that into your learning journey or your innovation or into your companies. Because the more you make AI transparent, we will know whether it is biased. We will know whether it is ethical, whether it is trustworthy, all the other, it's accountable, all those other elements of AI ethics comes in. But so far, Explainable AI has been in the realm of technology where there are models that is run by engineers using Python, and that's the only way that we can make it explainable. Now it's kind of opening past that to get all roles of people in the AI development cycle to be part of this to make AI explainable. So bit.ly/xai, I urge you to check that out. With that, I'm going to wrap up. So check out the events that I was talking about, or participate in any of the other any of the other projects that I'm talking to you about, VoiceAI or Language AI or Explainable AI. And hope you'll have fun. And I will see you back at Sudha Live next Friday, or I will see you at Weekly Ved next Wednesday, where you will join us for the speaker series. And don't forget the question I asked you, AI foundation model that can take language as some string as input and create an original picture as an output. Where can you use it, in what application in the world of autonomous vehicles to improve safety from autonomous vehicles? So be sure to get back to me, and hopefully, one of you or more of you would get that. And I connect you with my students who are in any of these AI innovation in the autonomous vehicle space companies to go make that happen, your new application. Or if you're not interested in the AV space at this point in time, I can give you any of my classes for free. And so remember that, go tell your friends, and hopefully I'll get some answers. And I need this by Wednesday, 9 o'clock my time in Pacific Coast, or 18 hours in Nigeria and Europe, or 1 p.m. in Brazil is the deadline when we'll start the next Weekly Wednesday, and I'll be giving the answer there in the next Weekly Wednesday. So with that, I'm going to wrap up, and be sure to follow on bit.ly/Jamte newsletter. So you'll get all the links I was sharing here today. And I will see you next week. Stay safe. Bye, everybody. With that, I'm going to stop the recording.